Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of All Things MSP Live. This week is actually live again. Last week was an encore performance, obviously, of a great episode that I did with Todd Biller. This week is an episode about kind of the things that happened at CCF last week. I think there's a lot of great information that came out of the State of the Channel 2024 report from CompTIA that we're going to cover tonight. And then we're going to cover the results from the 2024 member survey. There was a little bit of controversy. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about my plan for the member survey going forward, as well as going over the results and what that means for all things MSP and its members, because this is first and foremost a community and a community-driven effort. And that's why I did the survey in the first place. But before that, I got some things to get ready here. So let me do that. And while I do that, here's a word from our sponsors. GoZinta. Your computer should work for you, not you for your computer. GoZinta Mobius connects ConnectWise Manage to QuickBooks Online to generate invoices and update manage with payment status. GoZinta connects your systems together to make sure you enter your data once and it goes into all the systems that it should. Find out more at atmsp.link/GoZinta. Are you looking for a unified communications partner that can handle the telecom needs of your clients without the fear of them stealing those clients? CompTIA is a UCaaS partner that specializes in Teams voice integration, but they also handle legacy equipment like alarm systems and elevator phones. Best of all, they have local techs to do the work. Partner with CompTIA today and enjoy increased passive revenue, an annual bonus program, spiffs, and a 98.7% renewal rate. Find out more at atmsp.link/CompTIA. Produce 8. The headlines in the business media are filled with reports of companies struggling with employee engagement, productivity, and increasing levels of burnout. Let's face it, the digital workplace has become so distracting that it is getting harder and harder for anyone to find time to get things done. Recover 90 minutes a day, empower each team member with an extra hour and a half. Sign up at produce8.com, get set up in minutes, and by the end of the week, you'll know where your time is going and what's holding you back. With Produce 8, anyone can recover 90 minutes back in their day and get more accomplished in less time. Check them out at atmsp.link/Produce8. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another All Things MSP Live. Tonight's show is a little recap of CCF, CompTIA CCF 2024, primarily to discuss the results of the State of the Channel report for 2024. I've got some slides that we can go through so that you guys can see the statistics for yourselves. And we're going to dive into some of my commentary on those statistics and what I think that they mean for the MSP channel coming up in 2024. And some of them are some ideas that we've come up with on this channel before and discussed on the live stream as well as the podcast. We're going to dive into that. We're also going to dive into the results of the member survey, the All Things MSP Member Survey for 2024. Now, there's lots of stuff to dive into there, including I want to address the controversy over using the @everyone tag when I published that post. So I do want to talk about that because I think it's something we need to discuss. But I also want to talk about the results of the survey and how that's going to drive all things MSP over the coming months. So a couple of things I want to start out with in terms of CCF. Number one, always a great event because it's not a show, right? It is a workshop, update, working sessions on all the different things that the CompTIA communities and the CompTIA advisory councils are doing in 2024 and what they did in 2023. That's why it's called the Community and Councils Forum. And I go to this every year. I've been there pretty much every year except for COVID for probably the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years. And it's always one of my favorite events of the year because you learn so much about the channel. And about that time, especially for the last couple of years, it's always included the State of the Channel report. And Carolyn April and Seth Robinson have been, giving their spin on what the data has shown them as they created that report and as they produced that report. A couple of other things, a lot of great working sessions at CCF this year. Of course, we had the MSP session, which I helped with, and then the AWIT session, the Advancing Women in Technology. Now, this one for me was especially important because something clicked for me that really hadn't clicked before. And I think this is important when we're talking about women in technology. There's really 2 different types. There's the women in technology that are channel leaders, channel promoters, very passionate about the channel, but typically they're in a community role or a marketing role, something like that, where they're highly involved in the day-to-day kind of promotion of the channel, with a vendor. And, nothing against those people. They're great. I have a lot of friends. Shout out to a bunch of them that bought me shots for my birthday at CCF. That was a lot of fun. But there's another section that we don't think about as much, and I think need the attention that was brought to them during the session this past week. And that is the women who are actually doing tech in tech, the admins, the technicians, the help desk agents, the women who are actually doing technology related activities in this industry, who a lot of times, because of their roles, are behind the scenes, right? Even male admins and things like that are behind the scenes most of the time in this industry. So helping to bring them kind of forward, and I think it's a great plan for the Advancing Women in Technology program. So a lot of shout out to Brooke did a great job facilitating the session. Really love everything that's going on. And I think the working sessions brought up a lot of great ideas that will be followed up on over the next year. Now, of course, we also had some other sessions. There was one for the mentor program, which I was also involved in. That was a lot of fun, and I think got a lot of traction this year. And just all, cybersecurity, DEI, a lot of important topics around our industry that were talked about at CCF. And then, of course, the advisory councils met as well. Those are behind closed doors typically, so don't have any update for that. But a lot of great stuff happening at CompTIA this year. I recommend you get involved, and recommend that you go to ChannelCon in Atlanta coming up in August. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I can see the comments here. So in case anybody's commenting, I can answer those questions. But let's go ahead and start looking at some of the things that we talked about in the State of the Channel report. Now, let's see. I need to make this a little bit bigger so that I can see it. There we go. And of course, we are talking about the CompTIA CCF 2024 State of the Channel. And a lot of great information came out about this. A lot of good statistics. I'm actually, let's see. I'm going to move this down so that I can actually read my own slides, right? Okay, let's back that up. So $1.5 trillion in estimated spending in IT services. That's a lot. We should be taking our share. A lot of great information here, but I'm going to dive into these in more detail as we go through. But there's a lot of really good information in here, and I don't want to minimize any of it, but we have a limited amount of time. So just so much to cover here. And let me expand this a little bit more so I can, there we go. One of the ones I wanted to point out is 4 in 10, that's less than half of you MSPs say that they are experts in general business acumen. And we find that to be correct in a lot of cases, right? Whether you don't think you do and you do, or you really don't. And it's one of the things that All Things MSP strives to help with, is not only provide you with information on some of that, but also provide you with some ideas on how you can pursue experts to help you get better with the business side of running an MSP. Now, let's go into this in a little more detail. So in terms of health versus 2 years ago, company health. So 63% say that things are in a better shape today. That's good. That's actually really good. 31% say same shape, 6% say worse shape. That means that almost two-thirds of MSPs say that things are actually better in their business over the last 2 years compared to two years ago. Now, we break this down into sizes a little bit, okay? And we see that micro, and I don't have the numbers for what each one of these means in terms of business size, but the micro businesses, 44% are in better shape, 64% of small are in better shape, 68% of medium are in better shape, and 80% of large are in better shape. Now, very interesting that this basically runs the spectrum from small to large, micro to large, and it improves by about 20% from step to step, kind of discounting that small medium category, because there's not much of a difference between small and medium in the, in that, they think they're in better shape today. What that looks like to me is that the MSPs that are a little more, I hate to call it mature, because a small MSP could be mature and just intentionally small, right? But the MSPs that have a certain maturity level are having better financial stability than the ones who don't. And I think that's one of the things that you're seeing here in that increase from 44 to the mid 60s to the 80% on the large end, right? The 80% on the large end, they've built a business where they're not worried about the economy. And I think the economy is one of the things that often makes the small and micro sized MSPs a little more leery about how the business is actually doing. Now, how channel firms describe their primary business. Now, this one's a big one for me because if you've listened to me for any amount of time over the last probably year or so, you've heard me talk about the transition of MSPs to more of a consultant type attitude, right? And so what we're seeing here with these numbers are 27% are sellers of tech products, 38% are sellers of tech services, and 35% are sellers of business solutions featuring tech. Now, here's where I think this kind of aligns and how you can think of this. The 27% are, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to use these terms, are old school. Okay, 27% are old school. They think of themselves as sellers of products. Okay, and this could include your VARs as well. 38% are sellers of tech services. This is your main category of managed service providers, right? This is what we've been telling people to do for probably the past 15 years, is to sell technology as a service. Now, what I think you're seeing now is you're seeing a trend, a change, a turn, a pivot, whatever you want to call it, to selling business solutions featuring tech. And this is where the idea of consulting comes in, because you're no longer selling them a product or selling them a service that, by the way, can be commoditized, which is a bad thing because that leads to price decrease or price erosion and a race to the bottom when it comes to price. Selling business solutions, however, is a whole different animal. You're creating custom solutions for your clients that solve business problems, not just are an expense that they know they need to spend because they rely on their technology. I think that's been important for a while. I think it will remain important for a while. But I think the leaders in this space are going to be turning towards selling business solutions rather than the tech services that we've been telling everybody to sell for, like I said, the past 15, 20 years. Okay, and by the way, that's a large number that have already gone over that curve, started that pivot in terms of deciding to sell business solutions. Okay, this one's a little hard to read, but a couple of things I wanted to point out here. Number one, I don't think that MSPs are going to be displaced anytime soon because of the number one factor contributing to a healthy IT channel, and that is the growing complexity of tech. Okay, tech is not getting simpler. You know, some of it is, like the user interface, the things that they use every day, but the backbone, what they don't see, remains to be getting more and more complex. And so that piece, I think, is going to keep MSPs in business for a good long time, because small to medium-sized businesses are going to need that tech guru, that tech translator, to continue to improve their business. And then one that we have talked about and talked about and talked about, and that is adoption of generative AI tools. This is something that if you are not creating an offering or creating services or creating support around AI for your clients, you are going to have a deficit in just a very short period of time. It's going to occur first in support, because with Copilot, Gemini, all the things that they already use today that are starting to incorporate AI, this is something that you are going to start seeing. Your help desk is going to start seeing, and they're going to need the answers to your customers' problems around AI when they call in. Likewise, they're going to have questions about ChatGPT or all of the other tools that are incorporating AI today, or all of the new things that AI can do for them and do in terms of efficiency for their business. So lots of important things there. I think you guys know where I stand. on AI and where it should sit in your portfolio. But there's another number coming up later that I'll share with you around AI as well that kind of drives that point home. And then, of course, we see increased demand for cybersecurity services. That still is in the 52% range. That's number 3 on this list of factors contributing to a healthy IT channel. Your customers are going to need to be protected. The small to medium-sized business that has no idea about cybersecurity is going to need your help. So something that you definitely want to make sure you have in your portfolio as well. Now, skipping down to factors contributing to a diminishing IT channel. These get a little tricky. External factors, usually a code word for economy, right? So we'll just kind of say, we'll call that one the economy and let it ride, because I think a lot of people are wary of the economy. And of course, in the United States, we have a presidential election coming up, and those always shake things up. And so a lot of concern probably from that. Weak profit margins for subscription sales. Now, this one I want to kind of double click on for a second. And this one, if you are relying on the profit margins that your vendors are allowing you when it comes to what you're reselling, I think you are headed for a loss. It's diminishing returns area, right? But your value is not in the margin that they give you to sell that product. The value that you deliver is the services that you provide on top of that. Customers don't call Microsoft for support on Microsoft 365. It's not included in that price. You need to be charging for your support of Microsoft 365. And that's just an example. And it goes for Google Workspace and any of those tools that they're using, especially the ones that have very low margin that you're supporting. Okay. Really quick, I just want to check the comments. And we do have some comments. Is this the world famous Eric Anthony? No, this is not the world famous Eric Anthony, because the world famous Eric Anthony is actually a baseball player. And then they also say businesses crave providers who can help them enhance their business, not IT support. There's a difference. Absolutely. That is the primary difference, I believe, in managed services as we look at it today and managed services as it is going to evolve to tomorrow. So big difference there. And you can make 10x multiple with security. You can make 10x multiple with a lot of these services, but you have to realize your value is in delivering the service, not the tool that you're using to deliver the service. So that's the big difference with that one. Okay, so thank you for Facebook user for pointing those out. I appreciate that. And let's talk about competition from non-traditional sources. Now, this one interests me, and I really wish I would have had a chance to talk to Carolyn about this one to see what this one really involved, because I think that's the scary one to me, right? Competition from places that we haven't seen competition in the past. And I'm actually I've already made a note to reach out to Carolyn and maybe have her on the show to talk about what that means, because that is, to me, that's the scariest one on this list, especially with it being number 3. And then the cybersecurity threat landscape, interesting that that's 30%, and the factors contributing to a healthy IT channel, the number 3 is increased demand for cybersecurity services. So those kind of, are going to work hand in hand, right? And then a diminishing IT channel also, interestingly, comes up with adoption of generative AI tools. I'm interested what everybody else here thinks. Does everybody else think that AI is a threat to MSP, a threat to IT services? Because I don't think it is. If you're here and you're in the comments, go ahead and comment on that if you will. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and comment on either in the Facebook post, the LinkedIn, or the YouTube channel, whichever one you're watching right now, or whichever one you're watching the recording on, and let me know what you think, because I think that's an interesting difference or an interesting topic, because I think that small to medium-sized businesses are going to need more help with AI. I don't think it's going to displace the IT services provider. I think it's going to enhance the IT services provider ability to perform their work, efficiencies, and a lot of things that we'll get into in just a few minutes. All right, now I thought that this one was pretty interesting. This is, size of business, traditional NAICS codes, basically the categories that would cover MSPs, IT service providers, VARs, that kind of thing. So from 2020 to 2023, very small, that they categorize as less than 5 employees, rose from 129,000 to a little over 172,000. Small to medium, which is 5 to 249, which is a huge range. But, this is the government. If we were specializing this for MSP or the IT services channel, we probably would have broken it up a little bit differently, but this is the way they break it up. 5 to 249 employees rose from 30,000, almost 31,000 to 36,000. Here's the interesting one. Large to very large. This is going to be MSPs, IT service providers, whatever, with more than 250 employees. And by the way, this excludes telco specifically. They actually dropped from 599 to 579. So in very small, you had 133% increase. Small to medium, 116% increase. No, that's going to be a 33% increase and a 16% increase. I forgot to take off the 1. Sorry about that. But both increases, right? And fairly healthy increases. Large to very large, though, had a 4% decrease. Now, what does this tell me about the IT services channel? That the main place in growth, and this is what I've been talking about for a while again, is the main place in growth is with the small to medium-sized business. The small to medium-sized business is not going to employ a large to very large MSP. The large to very large MSP is not interested in the small to medium-sized business, but the small to medium-sized business market is the one that's growing the fastest. That's my point. And so you need to, I'm not saying you, I should say we, as an industry, if we don't address that market, we're missing the boat. We're missing a lot of opportunity when we're looking at that. Now, here's another thing that I think about this, is that those large to very large operate on a very consistent, standardized model, okay? It's not necessarily feasible so much to do that with the very small businesses that are the fastest growing section of the market. And so it's almost difficult for the large to very large MSPs to serve down market like that. Similarly, for the vendors in the room, that can translate to them as well. You sometimes have to decide whether you're going to go after large MSPs or small MSPs. But again, if you're not going after small MSPs, you are probably missing the boat on a huge opportunity. And yes, it's different. Yes, it's strange, but the rewards are there, and you can automate a lot of it because the tolerances are higher there for self-serve and automation. They don't need the customization and the special deals and all of that the larger MSPs are going to demand. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox on that one. Let me check the comments real quick. Oh, Keith Nelson is in the house. Thank you, Keith, for joining us tonight. He says, I've been called a non-traditional. Here, let me just pop this up. There we go. Keith says, I've been called non-traditional competition. If you simply follow a stock plan, everything is a threat. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And that's the race to the bottom. That's commoditization. That's why we want to stay away from commoditization, because it does inherently drift towards the race to the bottom. And yes, Keith, you run your business very differently, very well, I might add. In fact, you just commented on another post, I think earlier today or maybe yesterday, that you guys just added $650,000 of ARR to your portfolio. Gains like that are just amazing and show you what you can do when you focus on solutions rather than just delivering a commoditized service. All right. And Keith also says small to medium-sized businesses need real help staying competitive. Be that source of value that helps them stay competitive. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the question is, does contract and outsourced help count as employees? Ooh, good question. I think in the way that you should bring them into your culture, I think yes. Do they legally count as employees? No, but I think in order to get the most out of them, you need to treat them like employees. And by the way, when it makes sense to make them make them an employee. Okay. I think the benefits outweigh the risks. And last comment from Keith for now is, I'm going to beg to differ. Small businesses want competitive advantage. Huh. I think that's what I said. If I didn't say it that way, I apologize. But Keith, I think we actually agree on that piece. I must have said it wrong, because small business absolutely knows that they need, is not just wants. I think they know they need competitive advantage because they've grown up fighting against, especially small businesses that work in, say, retail, know that they have to have something special, a competitive advantage, in order to compete against the big box stores. And there are things that technology can do to provide that for them, especially around customer experience. And I think that's one of the big things, in my opinion, that AI is going to do for small businesses, including MSPs, by the way, is it's going to raise their customer experience to a new level that has previously been unavailable because you just didn't have enough employees to provide that type of experience. I think AI, especially when it comes to customization of communication, I think is going to be a big difference in CX, and it's going to be something that small businesses can leverage. And Keith is saying that they will pay for customization. Yes, absolutely. And that's, another reason why commoditization is bad, is because they'll pay for the customization. So you don't need to commoditize yourself. Oh, I went too far, right? Yep. Okay. So factors contributing to a diminishing IT channel. This is more about, consolidation, selling, buying, etc. And I just thought this was interesting, because if you add together the purple and the dark blue, okay, the highly likely and somewhat likely, you actually get 46% of you are considering selling your businesses. That's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot. And it does talk to the M&A activity and everything that's going on. A lot of people talking about M&A in this industry right now. And I personally think that while it can be good for you, and actually when we get into the statistics for the member survey, it's going to be interesting because there's something that I want to talk about there that's going to relate to this, right? Because I think 46% of you are getting to a point where you're looking for an exit. And that's why this number, part of why this number is so high. Okay, buying another business, if you add those two numbers together again, you get 20%, 35% is 55%. 55% of you are looking at acquiring another business. Now, I'm interested in this one because I don't know if this is because people are telling you that this is a great way to grow, which it certainly is if you find the right partner to purchase, right? I don't know if it's just growth for profit's sake, growth for revenue's sake. But I think it's interesting that more than half of you are looking to buy other MSPs. And I'd really like to have a deeper conversation about what that means. If somebody is in that position and has some kind of their thought process around why they're looking to acquire other businesses other than just growth. I get the growth piece, right? But are there other factors involved there that we might want to talk about? AI solutions and sales over the next year. This is the one when we were talking about AI earlier as, a contributor to a healthy IT channel. 47% of your peers, 47%, almost half, are already planning for AI, already planning to offer some type of AI services to their clients. Guarantee you that if that poll were taken today, it would be closer to 50%. And we've talked about this over several live streams over the past probably month and a half, right? So if you haven't seen those, go back. Did a great one with Corey Kirkendall from 5K Services that talks about how he's addressing AI in his business. And we actually talked about a framework for what it would look like to, decide what you're going to do, train up your employees, provide education for your clients, and provide packages for your clients to support AI and actually provide solutions. So we've got 47% planning for AI, 34% considering including it. That right there is 80%. So if you're not even considering it, you're behind the curve already. And I don't like to call people out, and I'm not going to call anybody out individually, but 80% of your peers are planning on offering something in terms of an AI solution, something that they can sell. So start thinking about it now. If you want some one-on-one advice, let me know. We can talk about it. But definitely check out the recent live streams that we've done on AI, because I think that's definitely something that you should take a look at. All right. And in the meantime, Keith Nelson says, I would love to hear the rationale as well. Contracts can be broken, at least in California. Employees can move. Purchase of business seems high risk versus customer accusations. I'm assuming he means acquiring acquisitions, customer acquisitions. In my own experience, yes, I think purchasing someone, especially if the culture is too different or the service offerings are too different, it can be a recipe for disaster. And I think there are probably lots of stories out there that can be told of bad acquisitions. And I know it's happened on the vendor side as well. We've all seen it, right? Purchasing a business is, I think, higher risk than customer acquisition. However, so many MSPs are really bad at the sales and marketing side of the funnel. It's fact. Yell at me if you want. I was bad at it when I was an MSP. It's just something that if you don't intentionally, learn to get over it and figure out how to do it, you are going to not be good at it, because most of us are technicians first, right? Okay. And then Keith says, I would say 90% or more of your customers expect an intelligent conversation about AI and how it can help their business. Absolutely. Especially if you are in that, I think it was 35% that, or 33%, whatever it was, that are selling business solutions. They're going to come at you asking for a business solution incorporating AI. So if you're not doing it, you're just plain missing out. Okay, so how can the channel use generative AI internally? Customer experience, I talked about. Sales and marketing. I think this one is good, but can have some downsides, so you got to be careful with it. Operations, 100%. There are tools out there now that are helping MSPs with operations. I'm going to mention two just off the top of my head. That's PIA and Nine Minds. So they're helping with the operations side of running your business utilizing AI. Business decision making. Okay. So many analytics that you can do where the AI, if it has access to the data, you can just ask questions against that data. You don't have to know how to do the formulas yourself. Just ask the AI what it thinks about that data, and it'll tell you. Now, there's, you got to deal with the hallucinations and some things like that. Be careful with it, but it can give you a level of analyzing that you just haven't had in the past. And then business management. We're going to see a lot around robotic process automation. ConnectWise has talked a lot about that, and things that help you automate the day-to-day management of your business using AI because of its capability to look at several factors and make a decision. All right. Okay. I just wanted to check the comments there again for a second. Okay. Now we're going to get to that one statistic, that 4 out of 10 that I mentioned at the very beginning, and that self-rating of companies' business acumen. Okay. 60% of you say business skills need work. Yes. Yes. 38% say that they're an expert. 54% say that they have intermediate skills. That right there is 92%, people. So anyway, it lists the areas needing improvement: financial forecasting, budgeting, financial analysis, cost control, all things that unless you went to business school, you probably haven't even had exposure to. And so sit down. Fractional CFOs are everywhere. Find one, talk to them. They can help put you on the right path, and you don't have to employ them all the time, right? Get them to set you up a process of doing your forecasting, doing your budgeting. A lot of times it's just a matter of them helping you set up reports so that you can run those reports once a week, once a month, whatever it is, so that you can do the forecasting, the budgeting, and all of those kinds of things that you should be doing as a business owner. Now, this is one that really caught my eye because, as you guys know, I've been on the vendor side of the channel for 10 years now, since I sold my MSP. And this is the first year where the number of channel partnerships has significantly dropped down. My drink was out, so now I've got to revert back to water. It's easier when I have a guest, and we have more guests coming. Don't worry. I think I've booked April fully at this point with some really interesting stuff that's coming. So if you look at this, in 2023 is the light colored blue, 2024 is the dark colored blue. And what you see in the 5 to 9 vendors, 10 to 14 vendors, 15 to 19 vendors, 20 or more vendors, those numbers all dropped. Some of them significantly. The 15 to 19 dropped by half. And so all of them dropped a little bit. What this points to, and look at this, 1 to 4. So they've gone to having anywhere from 5 to 20 vendors to so many people. Almost 10% have gone from something more than 4, right, to 1 to 4. Okay, and if you add in the none, which is a really interesting number, and that's another one I've already written to myself a note to ask Carolyn about, because how do you guys drop to no vendor relationships? That one's interesting to me. But then now we're up to 20%. Okay. So in total, that's what, 29 and 11, that's 40%. 40% of you are using 4 or less vendors. that is a huge consolidation in the market. I'm very interested in what that looks like and what that means. Does that mean you're all consolidating to one of the big players, or maybe one of the big players plus a cybersecurity stack that is from one other vendor? Because that would get you down to two, and then maybe one or two others in there gets you up to four. What's going on there? Love to know. But in the meantime, we have some more comments from Keith. So Keith says, we have a developer playing with AI to remind our clients of services that they are not using. Query ticket origination and reminding clients they can call the help desk or use chat versus email. Again, mostly customer experience related functionality here, right? Improving that customer experience. And Keith also says this will guide them to help videos on getting their money's worth and value of our stack of services. See, again, automation using AI to improve customer experience. It's going to improve stickiness and improve customer satisfaction. Now, this, Uncle Marv, very good point. And by the way, if you are not tired of live streams tonight, I urge you, even if you are, because Marv's live stream is obviously better than this one. He has Rick and Paco on from MSP Unplugged tonight, so guaranteed to be a great show. But he says, buy everything through Microsoft and PAX 8. Is that what's happening? Is this consolidation because everybody's moving to a PAX 8 or a SureWeb or somebody like that? Interesting point, and I'd love to know what everybody else is doing on that. So the question would be, if I purchase from ConnectWise or PAX 8 Marketplace, is that one vendor? Yes, Keith, that's exactly what Marv just brought up, and that could very well be the case. But I think that deserves a question for Carolyn as well, because does that really count as one vendor, right? I mean, yes, you're paying one person. I guess it probably depends on whether or not they provide all the services for, the support and all of that. So good question. And actually might be a good question for somebody at PAX 8. So maybe we'll have them on the show again. And Keith says Uncle Marv is a legend, which is absolutely true. Can't wait to do the next live stream with Uncle Marv. In fact, we're looking at the possibility of doing a collaboration at next year's Florida Man Festival. So, that could be very entertaining. And then Keith says, we're moving in that direction to get leverage and higher attention. Yes. And this is speaking back to, the vendor and consolidation, because you're right. The more you consolidate, the more dollars you're spending in one place, the more attention and leverage you're going to have with that one vendor. All right, moving on. Channel satisfaction. Very interesting versus a year ago. We go from, and I'm going to combine the very satisfied and satisfied here. 33 and 51 for today is 84%. 1 year ago, it's 18 plus 48. Let's see, that's 66%. So 66% to 84%, almost a 20% increase in satisfaction level, tied with, by the way, that consolidation of vendors. I don't think that's a mistake. I think that absolutely consolidation of vendors where you're not having to track as many and you have, let's call it one throat to choke, right? I think that does improve satisfaction for the MSP going in that direction. All right. And that appears to be the end of my slides for the CCF piece. Now, I also promised that we were going to talk about let me just move my windows here so I can get things situated. We were going to talk about the member survey. So let me go ahead and remove that and go ahead and add that. Member survey is something that I really, really wanted to put out there because of this being more of a community, right? We're doing this for you guys. We're doing this for the betterment of the channel in general. So a couple of things, and this is the actual results from Google Forms, right? So I'm not sugarcoating this. I'm not leaving anything out. These are the actual results. Okay. No surprise. Most of us are in the 41 to 60-year-old range, right? I think that does lead to the 46% looking to sell, right? I think there's a lot of us looking for an exit at this point. Current role in the industry, MSP business owner or senior executive. Not a big surprise that that's the biggest group. Okay, Keith, I get it. He has an issue with the survey. So his issue is that I didn't ask if anyone was over 150 years old. So, Keith, you look young for your age. That's all I got to say. Anyway, so how many years experience do you have? 10 plus. Again, probably goes with the age piece. How many employees in your organization? Now, this is a nice looking chart here because it's relatively even. The smallest one, interestingly enough, was 11 to 20. And now I lumped in the 21 plus because, most MSPs in the All Things MSP Facebook group lean towards the smaller side. A lot of ones, a lot of twos and threes, a lot of fours through tens. So it was interesting that the 11 through 20 was kind of a limited range, especially since 4 through 10 is a much smaller range than 11 through 20. But it just shows that we have a pretty good mix of people, at least who filled out the survey. What is the primary country or region? No surprise that it's the United States, followed by Europe, followed by Australia. That's pretty much what we see. Need to work on those Canadians though. Barb, help me out. What areas of your business are you most interested in seeing more content around? Obviously, the two big ones here, or I shouldn't say obviously. I mean, two of them are obvious, I think. That is sales and marketing. The one that really caught my eye, and I'm excited about actually, because any of you who know me know that I was the head operations nerd at SolarWinds MSP, now Enable. Shout out to all my nerds over there. So very interested in producing more content on operational efficiency. So that is coming. And then what are the biggest challenges or concerns in your MSP? Number one, cybersecurity threats, no surprise there. Number two, marketing and sales, no surprise there. Scaling challenges. Now this one, not so much of a surprise, but a little bit of a surprise that it ranked this high among this group. And then, the one that bothers me in here is really lack of compliance law and the ability to deal with compliance. So I think that's one that I need to push a little bit more because I think that's something that everybody is going to need sooner or later. A lot of the other ones we will cover, but we'll definitely hit on these top three as we move forward. How do you prefer to receive industry-related updates and information? Social media was number one, no surprise, because this is primarily a Facebook group. Email or newsletter. I am going to put something together that will allow you to register your email with us so that we can start sending you an email newsletter because I think that's been part of the plan for a while. Now, one of the things that I will absolutely guarantee is that we will not be giving vendors, sponsor or not, access to the email list for the newsletter. Podcasts kind of interested in that. YouTube, interested in that. So I think we've got most of those bases covered, except for the email/newsletter, which we will be implementing sometime this year. What types of content do you find most valuable? How-to guides. Now, I thought this was very interesting because I enjoy how-to guide content. It's harder and more time-consuming to put together, but if that's what you guys want, then that's what I'm going to do. Case studies was kind of low. Not a big surprise there. Expert interviews, definitely going to be doing more of those. Peer interviews and testimonials. This one I'm going to need your guys' help with because you guys are the peers. You guys are the ones doing testimonials for vendors. So I need you guys to help out with that. But I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to make it easy to sign up and all that stuff. And vendor demonstrations actually ranked higher than I thought it would. And so especially from our sponsors, you'll see more of those. But also one of the things I want to point out is in our effort to be agnostic, right? We do offer vendor partners, those who are not paying us as a sponsor, the opportunity to once a year do an office hours with us so that they can demo their product. And I'm going to get much more intentional about recording those, and so that you will have more of those vendor demonstrations coming out from vendors who are not just our sponsors. Now, vendors that are sponsors, you get a lot more of those based on your level of sponsorship, as many as one a quarter or sometimes more. All right. Keith said he needed to bitch about something. So Keith says, if I can bitch about one part of content delivery, so many events, webinars, etc., I find it difficult to plan for our staff since agendas seem to come out late. Speaker's resume is paramount. So, wow, a lot to unpack there. Events have their own issues. And I think there's a lot of people talking about that. We've talked a lot about that on this show before. In terms of the webinars, it's one of the reasons why every webinar that I'm going to do is going to live on YouTube. Okay. We do a webinar, it's going to live on YouTube. So if you miss the first one, you can always go back and watch it. And the nice thing about YouTube is you can comment on it, and you can comment, you can ask a question. And even if I don't know the answer, I'm going to go back to the vendor, back to the expert, whoever it is, and I'll ask them the question, get the answer, and provide it for you in the comments. So we still have kind of that interactive piece. Are there any specific experts or personalities? There's a long list. So yes, I will be reaching out to all of these people. Lots of great names on here, lots of friends on here. So I will definitely be looking these people up and calling them up. New initiatives and services. Webinars came out on top, which we will be doing more of. In-depth courses. That one was interesting. Definitely something on my radar because I like doing that kind of stuff. Again, more complex, takes more time. Got to figure out how to get the value out of it. Q&A sessions. We're going to be doing between Q&A sessions and expert panels. This is probably one of the ones I'm most interested in, is having more than one guest at a time to cover a topic. Whenever we do this, we always have a really good show. If you look back on the one that we did actually about events back in January, that one was very well attended, and looking forward to doing more of those. DEF CON Black Hat type seminars outside of my scope of work and my scope of knowledge, but certainly not afraid to bring those type of people onto the channel. Get the product in our hands, and I'll have to figure out what that last one means. Nothing else matters if you want, blah, blah, blah. So I'll have to figure out what that is. So when I do a more detailed analysis of these things, I'll let you know what that means. Would you be interested in participating in live events, either virtual or in person? If so, what type? Thank you all for that. Of course, I don't know who you are because this was an anonymous survey, but this gives me an idea of what people are interested in, and then I'll build those capabilities for you guys to sign up for that stuff. Are there any services or support offerings you feel are missing in the MSP community. Again, lots of great answers. A lot of them around the business things that we talk about. API gurus, interesting. That is something that I can speak to because I've done quite a few APIs in the past. Audio, video, and MSP. Somebody knows that's a passion of mine. And just a lot of great ideas in here. So I'll be going through these and trying to develop as much as I can, incorporate as many of them as I can in the growth of the channel. How do you engage? Facebook group, highest number, 89%. 26% of you listen to the podcast. 30% of you watch the YouTube channel. 13% of you watch this show. Thank you very much. And 26% of you follow us on LinkedIn. On a scale of 1 to 5, how helpful is the All Things MSP community to you and your business? Now, I will admit, these next couple of statistics are places where I need to step up my game. I'm just going to say it, okay? Because we fall right in the middle of the road, maybe a little bit better than that. Is this helpful for you and your business? Okay, so we need to push this number a little bit higher. On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you think of the quality of the All Things MSP content? We rate a little bit higher here. Not a huge surprise to me, but we are going to continue investing our sponsorship dollars and all of those kinds of things on getting more quality into the content. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend All Things MSP to a friend or a colleague? Now, if you recognize this is standard NPS scoring. It looks better than it is because on NPS, because of these two numbers right here, primarily, actually these three numbers. No, that's right. It's these two numbers right here. This makes our NPS actually go down. And this concerns me. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's not great either. I would like it to be higher. So we're going to work on this. This shows us that we have some work to do, right? And then how can we make All Things MSP more valuable? Obviously, these are individual answers that I will dive into deeper as I'm creating things going forward. All right. So that is everything that I wanted to cover tonight. I know I went over some of that last stuff pretty quick. Looks like a lot of you showed up right before it's time to end. So you'll have to go back and watch the recording. And I imagine you're probably just getting ready to watch Uncle Marv and his live stream. And just so that I can say I've shown it tonight, this is his podcast, his live stream for tonight with Rick and Paco from MSP Unplugged. So head on over there, watch them, and we will see you next week. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. See ya.